bravefathers.com.
Welcome to the Brave Fathers Show. And now, the prophecy.
So, why do women divorce good men? Why do women divorce good men? Why do women divorce good men? We demand an answer right now. We want to know. Now, we see this commonly happen, right? This is a very common story. It is not new to hear or to find out about a man who was a good man, who is a good man, and he got divorced. And today we are going to look at why that happens. And the story usually goes something like this. So the man meets the girl, right? She, you know, she shows some interest, but she's resistant. She's not really, all into it. He shows her a good time, takes her out to several dates. He shows her he's not like the other guys who are just trying to sleep with her. In fact, many guys would wait for sex. Some wait as long as a month. I've even heard of cases of people waiting 3 months and even longer for sex with a female they are dating. And all the while, they believe they are showing the female how good they are as men. Then you have a situation where these guys, spend money, spend time, and somewhere along the line, even before they propose, the woman will show some kind of attitude, some kind of behavior. For example, Andrew Wilson gave an example, his wife gave an example of when they were dating and they had an argument and she threw a remote control at him. And then he said to her, I don't date girls who throw things at me. If you ever want to see me again, call me and apologize. And he left. So every good guy, or most men, can have an experience or can relate to an experience where they spoke to a woman and she gave some kind of emotional outburst and they contained it. They somehow contained it. Now, thank you for joining. My name is John Paul from bravefathers.com, and this is a very important issue because in my work, helping fathers fight false allegations and fighting fathers in family courts to see their children, this story is very common. So you may have experienced this yourself. You may have had to go through a similar thing. And I'm showing the contrast between the man's behavior and the woman's behavior because that holds very important clues for why this phenomenon happens. And one thing that's for sure is that very often the man feels or is told or is shown by the woman that she was hurt by other guys, right? And usually he's very acutely aware that most guys she meets will usually sleep with her, sometimes very quickly, and then dump her. She may tell you another story of how she was hurt as a child, sometimes as a teenager, or just as a woman in the dating world. She has been hurt, and uh, um, she hopes that you are different. So most men, when they meet a woman, especially in the modern age, try very hard to show the woman how good they are. And then one day, some very quickly, this after 6 months, a year, which is very quick to propose, but that's what a lot of men do, they propose. A few might wait longer, but usually most people propose marriage within a year and a half, perhaps 2 years. For most, that is long enough to decide, oh, that's going to be my wife. And to be fair, many decide much earlier. So they get married. He tries to be the good husband. He does what he is supposed to do, right? He abides by what he believes is a social contract. So he takes care of the woman, he provides, regardless of whether she has a job or not. He does his best to be the protector and the provider of the home because, after all, that's what men do. There are obviously problems. Many people don't admit it, but you know, once the divorce proceedings start, all the dirty stuff comes out. And the men usually try to show maturity by maintaining the peace. They try to avoid conflict. They do what the woman wants them to do. They try harder. They do the house chores. They help to cook. They clean. They give the off days. They do the date nights. They give her gifts. Obviously, they spend a lot of money on a ring. There's guys who go into debt for the wedding. They borrow money for the wedding reception, and so forth. Some may borrow money for the ring. Some will work extra shifts for the ring. So they do a lot to show the woman, look, I'm not like those asshole guys. I'm not like those other guys. I'm the good guy. I am the good guy. I am the good guy. Now, let's add to that the modern trends of the kids being a little bit disrespectful, especially towards the fathers, right? And fathers trying to be accommodating and modern also accommodate the kids' emotions. I remember seeing on the school playground one father where the child was just so unruly and disrespectful. And the child says, we'll call your mom. And I've seen this quite a bit. So they call the mom and the mom quiets the child down, using like FaceTime or something like that, or just on the phone. So he's being good. He's not, necessarily yelling. He may yell during an argument, but overall, he's good. He treats her well. He says, hey, he wants to have sex with her, and she says, oh, not tonight. And then, he turns, he's frustrated, but he contains it. Many stay for a long time, again, showing the female that they are good guys. And then fast forward to a few months later, sometimes years later, boom, they get served with divorce papers. Many try to convince the woman to stay. In fact, for weeks, they try to get her to reconcile. So they talk, they argue, they weigh things, they try to see how they can make the relationship work. They may try counseling. Sometimes the woman says, let's go for counseling. So they go for counseling because they are good guys. So they do that. But many still end up having to face the divorce. And now that's where things get really ugly. And we'll come back to that. But there's another piece of the story that gets told, which is that woman ends up either having an affair or very quickly entering a relationship with an asshole, with a guy who is not a good guy, with a guy who has maybe fathered 10 children elsewhere, right? I've heard stories like that. A guy who is cheating on his wife, a guy who sleeps with women and dumps them. And, some stories would say she started sleeping with him and then he dumped her and then she gets upset about that. But inevitably, they end up with a guy who is not a good guy at all. So you ask yourself, why is the woman leaving the good guy with a perfect home, so to speak, for a guy who is sometimes good for nothing? Sometimes he's broke. Sometimes he can't hold the job down. Sometimes he's abusive. Sometimes he's just a plain asshole. And yet the female will choose him over the good guy who is doing his best, who's giving his all. Why? Well, as with everything in life, there are levels to this. But let's start with the idea of the social contract that a lot of guys get upset about, that they believe the woman has broken because she made a vow in front of people, in front of man and God, to stay with you, right? To stay with the man, to be with him through sickness and through pain and so forth. Why is she breaking that social contract? Now, let's think about another social contract that most of us are familiar with. And that social contract is what we use children. We use for children to be good. It's a social contract we apply to children to make them good, to make them good, to make them act the right way, to make them behave the way they need to behave as children. What is that social contract? What am I talking about? What am I talking about? I'm talking about Santa Claus. And I put it in the category of a social contract because, as a whole, our society will agree that when a child is under a certain age, it's acceptable for us to tell the child that Santa is watching. And if you don't act right, if you are not good, what will happen? What will happen? What will happen? Santa will not give you presents. You will not get a present for Christmas if you don't behave yourself, right? And under a certain age, it works. The child believes it. The child is good. The child does what the child is supposed to do as best they can, right? Of course, children don't know how to regulate their emotions, so they do things they shouldn't do. But in the moment when you say, well, Santa's not going to bring you presents, then the children quickly act right. Why? Because they want those presents. And it's a social contract because we tell that to the children, and the children collectively, between themselves and overall, agree that they will do what the grown-ups are saying. And the grown-ups collectively agree to lie to those children about Santa Claus so that collectively we have children that behave reasonably well. Right? So I see that as a social contract because society, as a society, we agree that that's what we do for these children, And it's a similar thing to the tooth fairy. The tooth fairy, right? So there's always a variation of the kid's tooth falls out and you say, put it under your pillow or something like that. And the child wakes up in the morning and guess what? The tooth fairy has put some money in exchange for the tooth. And I think it's a social contract because as a society, we tell that lie, to the children to make them feel happy, to make them feel good, to help them deal with the emotions of, oh, I'm losing a tooth, right? All the changes they're going through, the growing pains. And as a society, as a whole, we agree. We can lie to those children, tell them this story because number one, it works. Number two, we believe it's harmless. Number three, it's nice to see. We like the excitement, the happiness, the joy on the kids' faces when they get the money in exchange for the tooth or when they think, Santa's been. Santa's been. We love it. We love it. So when it comes to social contracts, you have to understand they are not always based on truth, and we lie to grown-ups too, as a society. So when we try to answer the question of why women divorce good men, why women break that social contract, you may start to wonder, is there truth to that social contract? Is there something that men are not being told? Which is why the men get surprised. Because notice, women don't usually get surprised by a divorce. They usually like, yeah, yeah. So, oh, that's so sad. But they're not surprised. They may feign surprise here, where they're like, oh, really? But it's usually not a surprise. You hardly ever hear a story of a woman being blindsided saying, I was such a good wife, I did everything, I loved him, I fucked him, I cooked for him, I took care of the kids, I took care of the home, and he left me. Now you see that in the movies. Every now and then you hear that kind of story. But over 70%, and in certain demographics, 90% of the divorces are initiated by women. And yet, we see them on the fucking social media, we see them on TV, we see them in our discussions, right? Saying they want good men. We see males like Tucker Carlson who will say, happy wife, happy life. And we hear that all the time. Today, I had this discussion with a male on X, which I shouldn't have done, because he said something about his wife lets him play video games. And then he came at me saying, oh, that's how married people talk. And I said to him, because he really pissed me off and he doesn't understand it yet, that he deserves his wife. Because we've been conditioned to believe that when a woman says something to a husband or a boyfriend or to a man in general, there is weight to it because she said it. And when we are accommodating of it, we are good. And when we treat them as equal partners, not like the assholes, right? Who want to be dominant in bed, dominant in general, who want to lead their relationships, not like those guys. When we are good, we will be rewarded. But let's look at reality now. Let's come back to reality for a moment, right? We know Santa is not real. We know this. We know this. And it's always a case where the kids at some point start realizing, is Santa real? Because one kid says Santa is not real. And they argue, no, he is real because he brought the presents, he bit the cookie, he drank the milk. My daddy told me he's real. My mommy told me he's real. My grandma told me he's real. Everybody says he's real. And I saw him in the fucking movie. He must be real. Christmas is real, so Santa must be real. Forgetting that all those are human constructs. Of course, the child doesn't know what a human construct or societal construct is. The same with the tooth fairy. Yes, we do it because we think it brings joy. But there's no tooth fairy. It's us, adults, giving children some joy, right? That's all it is. So when we come to the social contract of the man being a good protector and a provider, the man earning looks, money, status in order to attract women, and we see that on TV all the time, we think it's real. And the thing that men don't do is we don't read what women read. We don't watch what they watch. We don't pay attention to their literature. So earlier on, I showed this, right? I showed that. So that's a cover. It's called the Morning Glory Milking Farm. Morning Glory Milking Farm, right? So that's something that women read. It's one of the best-selling romance books. I've not read it. I've made a promise to read it just to see what's in there. But the reality is, women read that stuff. Women read romance novels. Women read the Cosmopolitan and other female related stuff. They watch TikToks, they watch YouTube videos. And what I'm trying to tell you is there is another layer that men are oblivious to. Just like children are oblivious to the story of the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus, we don't understand that there is a layer that, as a whole, society knows, mostly females know, that we don't pay attention to. And that layer is you being good, you doing what you're supposed to do, does not keep the woman, does not make her want you, does not make her desire you sexually. It does not. But it gets you to commit. Now, people wrongly think that women value commitment. Let me rephrase. People wrongly believe that women value the man who makes the commitment, but they don't. They do value the commitment and what comes with it, but not the man that makes it. Not the man that makes that commitment. And a lot of people right away will jump and say, oh, you hate women for saying this. But let's consider the reality of it. Let's consider the reality of it. If she valued the commitment, then by logic, she would stay with the good guy. But if a woman says, I just got bored with my relationship, there's no criticism for that from society. Yes, the men will criticize it, the red pill, pickup artists, whatever, will criticize it. Some will actually endorse it by saying, oh, the man should be more interesting to keep the woman, and so on and so forth. Right? But there's not going to be a criticism for saying, I left him because I got bored, other than men and a few women. If a man does the opposite, of course, he's the asshole, right? I'm telling you that we are being lied to in order to keep society afloat. Because if every man realized that making a commitment does not keep the woman, a lot of men would commit to women. And in fact, that's what men are realizing. That's why we have a lot of less people offering marriage. Because they realize that, wait a minute, I'm getting screwed over by this. But here's the more important thing. If you notice, I mentioned that in the beginning, the woman was kind of resistant or disrespectful, acted out, and most men try to show emotional maturity by containing, by allowing that disagreement and showing how they don't get triggered by it, how they are good, how understanding they are for this. And they think that that's attractive to women, and women will say that's attractive, but it's not. It's not. What it does is it tells the woman, oh, I can be a bitch and he will stick around. Ask yourself, why is that all those assholes left her? Why do you think they're assholes? Why do you think they're assholes? Because they left her? Because they are treating her how she is treating you? Is she complaining about them but doing the same things to you or worse? Why are we accepting that it's okay to devalue men this way? So, in answering our question, what I'm saying is women leave these good men or men who think they are good because that's what they were raised to do. That's what society taught them. That look, what you really want from him is to be protected and to be provided for. But society will say, we will give you protection and he'll still provide for you as long as you have kids. Because what society really wants from women, whether we admit it or not, is children. That's what society really wants from women. What society wants from men, really, if we are honest about it, is their labor and their sacrifice of their lives to protect the society as a whole. That's what we really want. Every human organism, every species wants to replicate and survive long enough to replicate, long enough to have independent offspring. And the same thing applies to human beings. The same thing applies to human beings. So, this is not to say that there are no good women, because that's the mistake that a lot of guys make. That's the mistake that I believe Red Pill makes, and also the pickup artists. The mistake people make is to think that women are, they'll always take advantage of you. If you let them, most will. Most human beings will take advantage of you, but women will specifically take advantage of men given the chance. That's true. But that does not mean that you cannot have a woman who's actually appreciative of who you are and what you do as a man. You can't have a woman who wants to be with you. You can't have a woman who loves you and a woman who cares about you. A woman who will not leave you. Or if it's so unfortunate that she does leave you, I have to finish making my tea, forgive me. Should have done this before. If she does leave you, it's going to be a more respectable, more amicable situation. Now, listen, human beings are unpredictable. All of us are. So it's not always that a relationship will work out, regardless of how much you try or how much she tries. That's just reality, right? The Disney fairy tale is not real. It's the ideal. It's what many of us would like, but it's not real. It's not real. So you have to look at yourself and be honest with yourself, as much as it hurts, and ask yourself if this woman was really right for you. Because if you're in a sexless marriage, then there's no point of her being your best friend because you are frustrated in that. If she leaves you, what does it matter what she was? It's done. If she does not respect you, right? Doesn't value what you offer, the value of what you offer her. What's the point? What does it matter? What does it matter? When you look at the guy who's the asshole, the guy that you think is so bad that she ends up with, right? The guy that you think will show her that she lost a good thing. And she may have lost a good thing. And it's very likely that she lost a good thing. But when you look at that guy, you realize something. You realize that he's getting what he wants, not trying to do what she wants. Which gives us the first clue, which is women are attracted and want men who are about themselves. You can't make your life about a female and expect her to cherish it. She just will not do it. She just will not do it. She will take you for granted. She will take you for granted. And this is something that our society does not allow us to speak about because of the social contract. Let's do and say only things that make women feel good. If women feel bad about something, it's wrong. And a lot of guys bring the attitude to the marriage and they think they are good guys because they're doing everything for the woman to feel good, to feel safe, to feel protected. And marriage counselors and people who teach men how to rekindle their bedrooms and things like that take advantage of this lack of knowledge. Because the reality is, you must be the one she actually really wants. And you're not the one she really wants if you are the one trying to impress her. And I know I've already gone like far off what most people are used to. So let me bring it back a bit so people can get me what I'm saying. When somebody wants to spend time with you, that person does not need to be chased. That person does not need to be impressed. You don't have to prove yourself. It's like when you have a friend that you know, even if you've not spoken for 5 years, 10 years, you could just pick it up like that. Right? When you have people in your life that you don't have to prove anything to them and they just want to be around you. It's the same with women. And we wrongly believe as men that we must pursue a certain woman. And I've noticed one thing that I've heard guys say, like, oh, I don't want to be dating around. I don't want to be going from woman to woman, seeing this one and this one. I just want straight away, let's get together, let's be serious about this. But that's not how it works. That's not how it works. And I know that's not the message you want to hear. And yet, that is the reality. But I understand that maybe what you are looking for is not reality. What you are looking for is something to help you escape the misery of what you're experiencing right now. You know your woman does not want you. You know she does not respect you. You know she does not love you. You know she wants other men. You know she's probably cheating on you and she has been cheating on you. You know you're not her first choice. You know you are not the one for her. You know this. So that's why you try to compensate for the fact that she doesn't want you. So you try to be good to her. You try to be nice to her. And you hope that all that will overcome the fact that she's not interested in you. Is that what's going on? Is that what the truth is? Is that what you are facing in your life? That is so painful to realize, because you know that if she leaves or when she leaves, you don't know how to approach the woman that you really want. You don't know how to do it. But guess what? She knows that you don't know. She knows this. She knows that despite all your macho display, like, I'll not mention names. It won't be fair. But all the hardcore displays, she knows it means nothing, because she knows you will not walk away. And here I will mention a name, like Andrew Wilson, who said to his wife, call me and apologize. He didn't walk out and she chased him. He didn't walk out and said to himself, fuck this whole bitch. I'm never speaking to her again because she assaulted me. No. No. He says, call me and apologize. That's all you need to do. Say some words, like a marriage vow. All you need to do is say some words, and you have me back. So I'm not really walking away. I'm just telling you, to make me feel like you want me, like you care. And that's what people do. That's what people do. So that's one of the reasons why women leave good men. Because the men who are good to everybody, but they're not good to themselves. They are good to everybody, but they are not good to themselves. And the cycle continues. It continues. right? Because I will say this, people get offended. Another person will say this, people get offended. And then the next generation is watching this. So we are at a stage now where women being predatory and disrespectful and rude is actually encouraged. It's seen as empowerment. Men are conceding more and more of their self-respect, of their own souls, of their self-worth to please women. Men are allowing themselves to be seen as less. And this opens the door to narcissistic and other dysfunctional females who have personality disorders. Because to some, that personality disorder is the ideal of what they want to be. Like, without irony, I hear women thinking sometimes, and I've heard this, like when a woman is abusive, like just do what she wants to do. Just obey her, be her slave. And there would be some value in that kind of advice if it worked. But you cannot appease and please an abusive person and make them treat you well because they are abusive. They are not abusive because you are wrong. They are abusive because they like to abuse. It's what they do. Because most guys won't admit it, but their wives are abusive. When I say abusive, it doesn't even mean violence. Just berating you is abuse. The easiest test to see if the behavior is wrong is, let's reverse the roles. If I spoke to her that way, would that be seen as abuse? If I did to her what she's doing to me, if Andrew Wilson threw a remote control on his wife, would she have said, oh, I didn't date guys who throw things at me? If you ever want to see me again, call me and apologize, and it will all be good. No, you'd be arrested for that shit. She'll say, I had an argument and then he threw the remote control at me. That's assault. That's assault. If you go into the family court, that'll be a finding of abuse, enough for you not to see your kids, if framed right by the right lawyer. It will not be acceptable. But women speak about these things freely because we are taught that that's what a good man does. Help her find herself, help her express herself. And we reject every message that brings us back on track to say, no, the man leads his family. And leadership means you don't tolerate abuse in your home. From yourself, from her, from the children, from anybody that comes in from outside. It's just not tolerated. No, she's not your partner. She's your wife. She's your girlfriend. She's your woman. You are not partners. You are not best friends. You are in a relationship which must have a certain dynamic to work. Yes, it is black and white. Your yes is your yes, your no is your no. It's 0 or it's 1. It's male or it's female. There is no middle ground in this shit. Yes, there are things that are trivial, but this is not trivial. Abuse is not trivial. Sacrificing yourself is not trivial. Sacrifice means you're supposed to get something better and bigger for it. So if you're not getting it, be honest and realize this is not a sacrifice worth making. You know, a lot of guys are afraid of losing half their property or more. You can lose way more than half. And females are ruthless about getting your money from you. They are ruthless. They feel entitled to it because from birth, they've been told, find a man who can take care of you. Be with a guy who is good to you and for you. And boys are taught, work hard so you can be protecting and providing for your wife. That's what they are taught. So the divorce is almost inbuilt into what the society has made its social fiber today. That's why women divorce good men. Another reason why. Because it's inevitable. Because I'm sure you have, if you haven't, listen, there is women who have conversations that are single and they're already planning their divorce. So when they look for a man with money, it's not because that's what turns them on. It's because that's what makes the marriage worth it to them when they get a divorce. That's what makes marriage worth it to them when they get a divorce. When they want status, it's because they get status for themselves. Right? Look at Lori Harvey. She just wanted the status. Because I don't know what she does, but there's nothing that people really get interested in her outside of gossip, as far as I know. So forgive me if I'm wrong. But when she left Michael B. Jordan, he was doing all the right things. I don't think what he was doing was right, but society will say he was doing the right things. Society will say he was doing the right things. He was introducing her to the parents, buying stuff, taking care of her, and he had the intentions of marrying her. But she was not interested. And what people need to understand, that it is not just because society tells women that. No. No, 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 no. And it's not a judgment on women, because I honestly believe when it comes to women being also forced to settle down or to be seen as chaste, to be seen as innocent and all that stuff, I don't agree with it. I won't deny that society, is good or more stable when we have that. But I cannot accept the situation where we also force women to be in a role they don't want to be in. Why does this taste weird? This is my mind. So if you are going through a divorce, if you are wondering why all this happened to you, if you are looking for closure, the painful reality is, with the way you approached life, women, and dating, you couldn't have avoided this. There's nothing you did wrong within the marriage. It was going to be over before you met her. Because you thought that being good is what will attract her to you and keep her with you. Why does this taste weird? You thought being good. You thought that when she yells at you and you don't break up with her, that's what you're supposed to do. You see, I have done my fair share of yelling at points in my life, and I'm ashamed of it. But I came to a point where I just did, it's not a thing for me. Now, of course, if the kids misbehave, they must hear it, because they must know what's up. Sometimes you have to raise your voice. But just yelling and berating someone, that's not my thing. It's not something that is good for relationships. So it's not something that I would want for myself in a relationship where I care about the person. If I don't care about the person, that's another situation. So I don't expect a woman to yell at me either. I just don't. Right? You will find closure when you understand that just like the kids are lied to about Santa Claus, you've been lied to about how relationships work. All you need to do is read a romance novel like this one, Morning Glory, Milking Farm. Read that. Read that. I've not read it yet, but I've read some other romance novels. Or 50 Shades of Grey, like watch the movie. But I think the book, I've told myself I'll read the book too, because I want to know this stuff. But I've read some romance novels. Very difficult to get through because it's such nonsense half the time, but it's what women like because we don't think the same. For most men, reading a romance novel, most heterosexual men, reading a romance novel is difficult. A chick flick is only as good as it's funny to a man. So it's very difficult for us because we don't think the same. We don't view the world the same as women do. We just really do not do it that way. We don't. So we can be told things about the world that we think are true, but the woman's interpretation of those things is very different from those same things. So again, when it comes to marriage, they see it as it's supposed to be a source of their happiness. So all the emptiness they feel and insecurity and so forth they feel before they get married, and this kind of status they desire, that's what marriage is for them. They don't see marriage as a duty to you. They don't see marriage as a responsibility to the husband, as work. They don't see it as work. They don't see it as it's going to be something that they have to make a big effort. They think they do, but they don't. Because they're not taught it. They don't see it. They don't witness it. And let's be honest, as men, we don't show it either. We don't lead our women anymore. We want them to be our partners. We want them to give us confidence. We want them to console us and to encourage us, to be our peace, which is wrong as well. You can't find your peace in a woman. You have to find your peace in yourself. You have to find your peace in yourself. You have to encourage yourself. You have to keep going by yourself. You see, the difference between the asshole and the good guy is that the asshole will walk away from the same woman that you marry, and he will not look back. He is not bluffing. He's not pretending to walk away. He's not telling her to call him and to apologize. He's like, we are done. And in most cases, it's impossible for her to get that guy back. And we all know of a woman who was obsessing over a guy for years. And whichever relationship she gets into, that guy is always at the back of her mind. Because that guy did not look back. So my point is that if you follow what women have told you and what society has told you, you will not find a good relationship. My point is, don't seek a good relationship with women as your priority. Your relationship has to be with yourself and your God as a priority. And then you are in a better position to choose a woman who aligns with you. Because let's be honest, All of us who have been separated, those relationships did not work. It's not about, oh, there were some good times, there were some bad times. They did not work. That's why you argued, because she wanted something else, you wanted something else. But you thought, because society told you that you can make it work. And we all believe, look, I believed that stuff as well at some point. And it's not acceptable these days for a man to say, look, I'm good with or without you. That's already seen as manipulation, as abuse. So men don't do it, but you have to do it. You have to be good regardless of whether the woman sticks with you or she does not stick with you. You have to have the willingness to walk away. You have to be willing to be seen as the villain. You have to be willing to be seen as the bad guy. You know, the way I got out of my, I would argue, the worst relationship is, someone said, if everybody thinks you're such a great guy, you're doing something wrong. And I was like, hmm? But I thought about it. I was like, wait a minute. All her people are praising me. And then it hit me. She cannot keep a man. Well, why? And that's how I started seeing reality. So to her credit, that's good. That's good. It's a good thing that she showed me that I was not being true to myself, that I was lying to myself, that I was emotionally dependent on her rather than building myself up. That I was asking her to do things for me that I could have and should have been doing for myself. That I was being needy and insecure. I was weak. I was weak. And I lacked self-respect and self-worth. Whew. So for that, I have to thank her. Thank you. Thank you for showing me that I was not a good guy. I was a weak male who was trying to appease you so you love me. Because I couldn't love myself, because I didn't like myself. I didn't love myself. I didn't want to be who I am. I didn't want to be myself. I was pretending. I was I was empty. And I wanted you to fill me up. Pause. Pause. But I was so scared of the world that instead of growing up, I regressed and became more of a child than a man, because I thought that would, because I thought that would protect me. So I did the things, or tried to do the things that externally looked good. And I'm not saying I didn't do anything right, but I realize now that it wasn't just that I was immature, but that I was seeking to live through you. I wanted you to take the risk and to protect me. That's a tough admission to make. That's a tough admission to make. But that's the truth. It's the truth. So what can we do? Now, All that does not excuse, the wrong things that happen. It does not. It does not excuse you. And you, as a man, have to be able to make whatever admission you have to make, not to her directly, but to her by yourself, because that's where you find closure. That's where you find truth. You have to make those admissions, those tough admissions, those painful admissions, those things that make you feel superior, sometimes weaknesses at the core. And this does not mean compromise. This does not mean go back to her. Like if the one who I'm talking about, the woman, if you're watching, I'm not coming back to you ever. Never, 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 never. But you have to understand that there is a layer to it that you are ignoring, right? There is a part of this that you are actually ignoring. There's a part of this that you obey the society, but you ignore your soul. Like they used to have that ad. I don't know if they still have it. Sprite, obey your thirst. My advert is for life. Obey your soul. Let your soul connect with God, and then obey what you hear. Not society. Society is selfish. We are all selfish beings. We want people to be what is convenient for us, right? We all say we hate cops at one point or the other, but you need the cops. We don't like it when they are mean to us, but we want them to be mean to others. Society will not make itself suitable for you. You have to know how to maneuver it. So when it comes to marriage, which is essentially a contract with society, when you tell the people, I'm taking this woman as my wife, and she says, I'm taking this man as my husband, and you get together, you're married, that is because society benefits from it. But all the society really wants from you, really, honestly, as a man, really, is also children, like they wanted from the woman. That's what we want as a human species. We want kids so that we procreate, so we have a labor force and so forth. Once that's done, the social contract is really fulfilled. And a lot of times, guys will say, oh, women don't want sex after marriage, after children. That's a lie. That's a lie. She may not want sex with her husband or the children's father. That doesn't mean she doesn't want sex. Right? And I don't want to go into deep to that because people are not ready. I don't think people are ready to know how sexual women are, how sexual women really are. I don't think men are ready to know this because that will subvert society. That will drive men crazy if they understood, if they knew how much women love sex. We don't look, yeah, we like to watch it and and do it, but listen, women want it way more than we do. We can't even fathom how much they love it. But if she doesn't want it with you, you think she doesn't want it. And collectively, women will lie about this. But why do you think they get so defensive of a woman who is having an affair? You think they care about that woman so much Why do you think women protect women who cheat? Think about it. Do you think they do it because they are like, oh, poor woman, she cheated and she was not happy because she was not happy in her relationship? Or because she was not getting what she needed? Or it's because of a trauma? Right? There's always some kind of story behind it, and they all get behind it. Do you think it's because they are so empathetic towards that female? Or could it be that they are doing the same thing? Could it be that they know what's up and you don't? So, unfortunately, being a good man in this society essentially means being oblivious to truth. It means you are not putting yourself first as you should. It means get with a woman who does not see you as her leader. And there's a lot of guys who are so funny to me when they think, they are leading their woman, but all they're doing is what the society tells them to be. Because none of those guys have been villains in their life. So they've never slept with somebody's wife or girlfriend. They've never taken somebody, not like Clavicular does on camera, but in real life, not even taking somebody's girl or wife, like had sex with her, dumped her. I'm not saying you should do that. But what I'm saying is there's a dark side of all this that the good guys are not aware of. They're just not aware of. So they get frustrated, they get bitter, they get angry, like we have the red pill rage, when they realize things, that they didn't know before about women, and they feel frustrated because I spent 15 years and all this time she had these affairs and so forth. So like I said, the truth about these things would subvert society. But to answer the question simply, why do women leave good guys? The truth is, it's because they don't find those good guys sexually attractive. Period. And why they don't find them sexually attractive is a topic for another day. For today, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon. My name is John Paul from bravefathers.com. If you want help with your family court case, especially if you're in the UK, hit me up at bravefathers.com. Go to the link below, go to bravefathers.com, and I'll help you out. Thank you for watching.
bravefathers.com